I got people going nuts with it, just making crazy good money, which is great because with this economy and with unemployment where it's at, people need that.
Hey guys, welcome back to the VIP Financial Ed channel. A very important conversation to have with you guys here today. For those of you that have had a chance to sit with me one-on-one during our complimentary coaching session, which you can reserve at freecoachingcalendar.com, you may have heard me say in the past that I'm a firm believer in this three-tiered approach to creating real wealth. I celebrated this actually when I sat down with Dan Locke. He calls it the wealth pyramid. I call it the wealth ladder. It's the same concept where you really kind of want to focus on solving the short-term net cash flow equation, figure out how to scale that out, and then focus on long-term net worth investing. And I had an opportunity to sit with an old friend of mine, Kris Krohn, who's a big shot here on YouTube, among other places. And we had that exact same conversation because Kris was talking about the concept of passive income and investing in emerging markets. And he's had this really clever and winning formula about real estate investing that's been unique since I've known him. He's been consistent about this shorter term buy and hold real estate philosophy. And it's quite frankly pretty genius. And I think it's tremendous for a long-term net worth investment play. But I was making the case while I was sitting with him in Utah that the short-term net cash flow equation is still something that has a ton of appeal, and for good reason, because if you're focusing on that and if you're able to solve that equation, the long-term net worth investing almost takes care of itself. So does debt elimination, so does credit scoring maximization, so do all the different bullet points that we touch on here on this channel. So I'm a big believer that we prioritize in that order. And so Kris and I kind of left that meeting having to some extent enlightened each other. And he had mentioned at the time that his brother was working on something, his brother Nick. And we started to sort of deep dive into the concept that he was talking about, which I want to bring to you guys here today. And boy, oh boy, guys, do we have some topics to cover with you here today. This is going to be the discussion related to active versus passive income. Do we build for 5 years before we get to $10,000 per month in leftover cash flow every month? Or do we dive in and start taking control over this and get it next month? It sounds almost rhetorical, obviously, but there are pros and cons, of course. I think it is clear in the title, passive versus active. And so there's going to be people this is great for and people who I don't think it's a fit for at all. So I want to find out who those people are and what this is all about. And we're going to review it with Kris here on video so that everybody can share in the experience. And for those of you who it is a great fit for, well, welcome potentially to your new future because this is freaking exciting. And I took the time to listen to the webinar. It takes a lot of time to listen to these webinars. And the entire webinar, I was super excited. So Kris, glad to have you back on the channel, man.
Matthew, appreciate it. Deep respect, super excited for what you're doing, what we've done in the past. And, you really hit a nail on the head. You were talking to me about this whole idea of active income. And I thought, you know what? I'm always telling people passive income long-term become financially free. And, in our real estate, we're optimized doing 25 to 30% annual ROI. And that becomes really meaningful years from now. But if someone's really in a pinch with like where the economy's at today, then who really cares about making millions of dollars in the next decade or two if you don't know how to put food on your table? And so I do think that the proper priority always has to be an active income and then your passive income. But the problem, I think, all too often, Matthew, is that people are either only living hand to mouth, thinking check to check, even if they're getting ahead, they're only thinking about, I just got to make active income and pay my bills, and they're not thinking about their future. And then you get some people that maybe are only thinking about their financial future, and they're not killing it on their income like they should be. And that's really honestly got me looking for a solution.
So your brother's been out there. He's kind of this marketing genius, right? And he's been out there testing this, sampling it for years. And so what did you guys end up coming up with? Give us a snapshot.
I can't tell if my brother's a whack job or genius. I mean, he's spent tens of millions of dollars on online marketing. And what I mean by that is Nick takes like products and sells them on Amazon. That's where he's made his name. But last year he started doing something really weird. He actually started 2 years ago. he started taking services in the real world, like not products, but actual services that are generally in the thousands of dollars. And he started hacking the online space for those things and started doing it really successfully. It started 2 years ago with this photography thing. This photographer wanted more photography jobs, and my brother hacked like these $2-3 cheap Facebook leads. And all of a sudden, the guy was booking weddings left and right, making money. He's like, this is crazy. So he had to hire someone else to then do the weddings. And then before you know it, he starts expanding into other markets. Now he's gone nationwide and made over $1 million this year so far, just in literally generating leads and then hiring out the filming of weddings to other people. And so that's what really got my brother started with, you know what? There's all sorts of competition with online marketing for online products, but there's like no competition for services, for home projects, for paint, epoxy my floor or paint my house or fix my yard, get me some sod. And that's because handyman and subcontractors actually don't it's like oil and water. A contractor and online marketing is like, no, they do not go together. So that's like the wacky thing my brother did. He took his online skills and he brought them to a space where there really isn't online marketing. And dude, we've been killing it in the millions. And
dude, talk about the most obvious problem to solve, bro.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been probably admittedly too obsessed with home projects. So I'm definitely somebody that sees this need and I wish I would have thought of this concept of this solution initially. But can you kind of give us a breakdown, a little bit more detail behind how this whole thing flows?
It started last fall. My brother had epoxied his garage and he got curious and he's like, you know what? Like, it wasn't fun. It was messy. It looks great. But he just decided to throw up an ad because he's an ad genius guy. And he throws up an ad and he gets 2 neighbors literally around the corner that respond to the ad. And he's like, you know what? I'm just going to respond to this. So he decided to go on over and he sold them these epoxy jobs. And then he didn't even do the job. He found someone to do it for him. And he made like $1,500 on each one. And 5 weeks later, I'm in Vegas with him on just kind of a guy's trip, checking out a buddy of ours that does MMA. And he was the final big fight of the night. And so we were talking about this. He's like, yeah. And his phone kept cha-chinging. Like, he has this stupid sound effect with the money. He's like, what are you doing? And he's like, dude, I made over 10 grand this week. I'm like, you're here with me in Vegas. What are you doing? And he's like, 5 weeks ago, this epoxy thing. And then I hired someone to like book appointments and another person to provide estimates. They're all commissioned, and then someone to do the work. And now we're just doing like 2 jobs a day. It's nuts. And I said, well, where do you want to go with that? And he said, Kris, in 5 years, I could get this thing nationwide and, could freaking bankroll big money. I said, do you want to know why that's the dumbest idea? He gets intrigued, of course. I always think in systems like you, Matthew. He's like, that's not dumb. I'm like, well, no, but there's a way smarter idea. And he said, what's that? I said, you should just license it. He says, what do you mean? He says, sell territories, break up the United States, sell territories and make this available to people everywhere. And, a handful of months later, $1 million later in the bank, it's working. And that's when he says, you know what, we're going to hack the entire home improvement space. So we've been doing that. And we basically found 30 ads for home projects that we can generate leads under $10 a lead for projects that are over $1,000 that generally have 30, 40, 50, 60% margins. And dude, we've been just running with it. And it's one of those it's really a stupid side hustle because it doesn't take a PhD or special marketing degree. If you can steal the ad, right? R&D, rip off and duplicate. If you have the magic ad and can post it, then you can literally make the phone ring off the hook. And most of these businesses, we don't even call people. We don't talk to them. We just do it all through text. So we're just booking gigs through text and started to like open that up to my network. And I got people going nuts with it, just making crazy good money, which is great because with this economy and with unemployment where it's at, people need that. And that's what.
Yeah, man, you're not kidding. Well, so this webinar that I watched, right? You had about 1,000 people on.
Yeah.
Bunch of people taking action. A lot of people use the term side hustles. Okay. I consider a day job a side hustle. A side hustle to me is something that you're doing to pay the bills. These are empires that people are building. And to me, that sounds pretty passive anyway. What you're describing there as far as never really even having to get on the phone. And that was something that the case study that you were highlighting in that webinar. What's your buddy's name? Kyle?
Trent.
What? Trent. I mean, the guy admittedly said, look, I started with phone calls. I started doing bids. I'll never do another bid. I'm just doing everything by text. So these were his numbers. So Trents Results after 3 weeks. And keep in mind, guys, this is, a couple weeks ago at this point. I'm excited to get updates from you here. So we've got 59 roofing bids, leads, 7 boulder and retaining wall leads, 84 sod leads. And I'm assuming he has to kind of condense down into specific niches in order just to keep things sane, right? Because you could probably just go gangbusters with this thing, everything from painting to other landscaping to, you could go into probably auto mechanics, right? I mean, you think of the
dude, Matthew, what really happened was Trent's a buddy of mine. I met him through YouTube a year earlier. He happened to live in my neighborhood, and we go to the same church, so we got to know each other better, and we started working out together. And then he came to me like just a little over a month ago and just said, "Hey, Kris, like he's a forensic analysis. He's in a job that pays really well, but he actually really hates because he has to do some horrible things to put bad guys away based on things that they do on their computers and phones. And he's just sick of it. He's done it for a long time. It's just, he just hates the way it makes him feel, and he wants to be done with it. He said, well, Kris, I actually might be getting my wish. I might be losing my job, and I'm screwed. I don't know what to do. I mean, I'm a 6-figure earner. And that's when I said, well, dude, if you be teachable for 30 days, I will give you an ultimate side hustle. I'll help. I'll work with you. And let's just see in 30 days if you can replace your income. And 30 days later, he did. And it only took me, I spent like a couple hours with him. That was it. And he killed it.
I mean, by the time these results were up, 3 weeks later, $8,844 in profit.
Yes.
Now, that was during a time when he was still working full time. Is he still working?
So he is still working full time, but he now knows his number. In the next 30 days, he wants to double his number again. And
what did he come out with for the first month after it was all said and done? Because I think these are 3-week numbers. So do you know what his total was, grand total for first 30 days?
Yeah. So at the 4th week, he actually ended up hitting $9,100. One of the gigs, sod, sold out for the entire year. And so he ended up losing a handful of jobs. But his roofing job, I think at the time he had like 8 jobs. He's got 13 now. And roofing is probably one of his favorites because he spends about 10 minutes texting. And then right now I think he's at $12.50 an hour is what he's making. So now he's opening up his area, bringing up the lead volume, handing it off, and then basically in hunt of his next best hustle. And he's got 30 to comb through. So
man, guys, leave a comment below. I'm curious. So if any of you guys have started working a side hustle, throw a yes down below if you were able to make over 9,000 your first 30 days. Throw a no down below if you weren't able to make 9,000. I'm curious to know how common that is. I'm assuming it's fairly rare. I think it sounds tremendous, especially for a guy that was maintaining a full-time job at the same time he's doing this on the side. So definitely building a side empire. Basically, the way I understand this is he's arbitraging home improvements. He's arbitraging handyman.
He's a broker. He's brokering handyman stuff.
Web work because these guys suck at it, right? He's bringing in the leads. He's lead generating, and then he's basically, his hands are done clean, and he's done with it. And he could frankly even find somebody else to do some of that as he automates this further, potentially. Yeah,
well, it sounds really stupid because for him it's super easy, but the reality is my brother and I, we've got a document that it's 100 pages. It's a private PDF that contains 30 different ads. Every week we add about 2 now. It has the pictures, the exact language, exactly how to upload it, and then exactly how to work the hustle. And like literally someone could pay $1 million for that document. It is liquid gold. And once Trent got his hands on it, he literally it just became a game of copy and paste. His first week he was lost. He didn't know what he was doing. His second week, he started getting a couple of gigs and he found the 3 ones he wanted to zone in on. His third week, he started smashing out of the park. 4th week started getting really strategic. But dude, last week I let 200 other people in on what Trent's doing. And they just had 1 training. Today was their second training. I got to check in, and on the Facebook page, This guy's like, oh, I just made $3,000. This guy's like, I made $1,500, $500. Like people left and right are winning multiple jobs. And it's just been 1 week. So they're going way faster than Trent at this point because he was the pioneer. My brother Nick and I are like, I don't know how to scale this. We're just trying to help a buddy out. And now it's just every day it's evolving to like a whole new level.
I was looking at buying a business in Chicago, and we ended up locked down 4 days before closing and have postponed. $185,000 with a roughly $147,000 net profit each year for the past several years and growing. But, you know, you look at something like this and, you know, to be able to get this type of a cap rate and to earn your money back within weeks or even just a couple short months, I don't understand. You know, look, I've brought businesses on here that all mirror that type of an expectation, right? Whether it be the Airbnb automated concept where you're arbitraging short-term rentals, whether it be little pink houses where you're doing high-end wholesaling and you're able to make hundreds of thousands. If you're able to spend even tens of thousands of dollars and earn your money back in 6 months or less, that's a business model that people should be exploring. This appears to be that and even potentially more, depending on how good you are. Let me ask you straight up. Okay, I know Trent's your buddy, so I'm not looking for, you know, any trash talk behind his back, but be honest with me. How extraordinary is this guy? Is this a superstar communicator? Is this guy a pro salesman? What is his experience and background? I know he's a forensic guy, computer forensics. That doesn't necessarily convince me that he's great at networking and sales.
No, I mean, listen, if I'm being super honest, I personality type people, and he's an Oracle, a type 4 or whatever color system you use. He's a white, which basically means he has a blueprint engineer's mindset. Usually that is the last person that you put in sales. They're the person that knows how to slow everything down, and they have to understand everything. And
that's right. Super detail oriented, super analytical, not necessarily the most social.
And to be honest, I had to correct him. We were 2 weeks in, and it was Saturday, and he was driving around to deliver 3 sod bids. I said, when you're done, come on over. And he comes on over, and I said, Trent, I said, first of all, did you win any of those 3 jobs? He says, no. I said, what I want you to do is never do that again. I said, let me show you how to bid a sod job in 3 minutes right now through your phone. And I showed him how to do it. And then he got nervous. He's like, but Kris, don't you think I should line up the people that are going to do the work before I sell the job? And I said, no. I know this is going to be really outside your comfort zone, but what I want you to do is sell the job and then line up the workers. And he did that, and literally that job, he that week he got like 10 jobs. Like he freaking just crushed it out of the park. And he's like, oh, I got it. Like, take action. Like, so Trent is not your, like Trent came out of owning his own business, struggled, sold it for a small amount of money, and then he's been working for someone else for the last 4 years. Tired, he's burned out. So don't get me wrong, he's a really good guy, but he's not necessarily the person that you would probably say, hey, here's my hustler, networker, racehorse. You know, fortunately for the leads that he gravitated towards, he's hardly even conversing with people. He's literally just copying, pasting, hacking, and texting, and then duplicate. Now his next phase is, hey, you figured it out. You're not learning anything new. Hand these 2 hustles on to somebody else. Let me give you a couple of new ones, and let's add another couple of 6 figures to this thing.
Man, dude, you're always out there changing lives. I love having you on. I honestly think that that's really encouraging because it tells me that people who could be potentially nervous or even shortchange themselves from this potential, that, you know, that they can see that somebody that maybe is a lot like them is already having success with it. I tell you what, we're going to have to come back on another video. Why don't we go ahead and wrap this one up, guys? If you are already interested, you have your interest peaked, let's go ahead and set up a custom email address. Why don't you guys go to kris@vipfinancialeducation.com. That's with a K, K-R-I-S, at vipfinancialeducation.com. It'll CC me as well, so it'll be sort of a warm introduction. We're really only looking for serious people. We'll get into price points. I want to really sort of scrutinize this as a skeptic. You guys know how I am on this channel. I like to be the audience advocate here and ask the questions that you guys can't be around to ask. So I'm going to try and poke holes in this thing on follow-up videos. Again, make sure you're subscribed. Drop a like on this video if you want us to keep making more videos that will help you guys not just get through this freaking coronavirus, but thrive both during and after it. And by the way, if you've been at home now for I don't know, 10 weeks, and you're sitting there thinking to yourself, going back to work sure sounds like it would suck, then maybe this is a great way for you to prevent ever having to do that. So you know what? I'm excited to hear more. I've got some questions I want to ask, and I want to find out from you exactly who is not a good fit for this, Kris. So guys, make sure you stick around, have those post notifications on, drop a like and a comment below. Let me know your questions, and Kris will be on there as well answering those, or have somebody from his team doing that. So guys, we'll look forward to seeing you on the next video. Hey, Kris, I appreciate you, man.
Appreciate it, Matthew. Take care, everybody. Thanks.
All right. Bye-bye.